Tender Committee dated 27th December 2023, KCA Exhibit number 2. Roman number 3, Tender Opening Record dated 28th December 2023, KCA Exhibit number 3. Roman number 4, Appointment of Tender Evaluation Committee dated 4th January 2024, KCA Exhibit number 4. Roman number 5, Tender Evaluation Report dated 5th February 2024, KCA Exhibit number 4. That should be number 5. Roman number 6, Kericho County Revenue Administration and Management Act 2019, KCA Exhibit number 5. From that order, it should be number 6. That's an error. Roman number 7, Kericho County Rating Act 2019, KCA Exhibit number 7. Roman number 8, Kericho County Finance Act 2023, KCA Exhibit number 8. Roman number 9, a bundle of copies of single business permits, KCA Exhibit number 8. This one, Mr. Speaker, shows even the business across our assembly, Pakmat, belongs to premises in Bureti. But you know, Kericho is on A. And even in Bureti, it doesn't state which, because Litain also is on A, so it should be Litain and Kericho in both zones, zone A. So, Mr. Speaker, that's how we lost revenues. Number 10, a report on the ad hoc committee on Kazi Mtaani project, KCA Exhibit number 10. And Mr. Speaker, I was the vice chairman of that committee. It is unfortunate, Mr. Speaker, and I must say this, that the member even who raised the question, the statement, that necessitated investigation into this dubious project, is one of those members who appended a signature that they are not willing to come here and even to defend the report that we produced. Mr. Speaker, in one of the, immediately we tabled the report, that particular member even called for the impeachment of the governor. And now he's nowhere, you know, he should have been here to defend the people he represents. And this is so shameful, Mr. Speaker, because one, you do not send an affidavit that you will not appear here because you do not want to talk about this. And you raised, that is the member even who quoted a number of contractors who were paid without a single document. It is so shameful, Mr. Speaker, and I want to urge the members in future, let us stand for what we believe is true. Number 11, affidavit of Mr. Eric Koech, KCA Exhibit number 11. Mr. Speaker, there is an amendment there. It was supposed to be 2 affidavits of former...
Order, Honorable Robani. You remember this is a house of rules and procedures and records and statement of facts.
Correct.
So who alleges must prove. And you know, you have just mentioned is a member. Is it something that you can substantiate? Who is that? Who is he? Because the records don't lie. We have it here so that for the purposes of record, and we also have our Hansards.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand guided, Mr. Speaker, based our in relation to a report on the ad hoc committee on Kazi Mtaani. The member who raised the question is Honorable Matthew Korir. The member who raised the statement is Honorable Matthew Korir, MCA representing Chai Ward. And unfortunately, the same member, Mr. Speaker, is not even here today to talk about the same report which we've brought here as one of the evidences that this county lost a quite substantial amount of money. So, Mr. Speaker, the member is Honorable Matthew Kirui Korir. He is the MCA representing Chai Ward.
All right, you can proceed.
So, number 11, Mr. Speaker, I was saying it is an affidavit of Mr. Eric Koech. We do not have one for Rob Kipkorir Daniel. The 2 are former CECs in this county government, and that is KCA Exhibit number 11. Roman number 12, Auditor General's report for the year ended 30th June 2023. Kericho County exhibit number 12. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, and not lastly, number 13, Roman number 13, a schedule of revenue streams vis-a-vis performance as of 30th April 2024, KCA exhibit number 13. Mr. Speaker, this one is even so, it's something that shows that this county deliberately doesn't raise its own source revenues. I can quote in one of these schedule, Kabianga Tea Farm is quoted to have raised the smallest amount of money. And Mr. Speaker, under the defunct local authorities, the same farm used to raise a lot of money. The executive has never informed this house why we are not collecting anything from that tea farm. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, Roman number 14, we have the video clips numbered KCFV1 and KCFV2. These ones, Mr. Speaker, is clips that the governor himself is addressing the public in relation to number 1, that he never had money when he was campaigning, but in 2027 he will have money. And he was even telling the public no one should worry. So that one, Mr. Speaker, is something that the governor ought to be investigated. Roman number 2 is misappropriation and or abetting misappropriation of publicly raised funds. This one, Mr. Speaker, is in relation to the Londiani Accident Victims Fundraiser. Number 1, on various dates between 4th July 2023 and 9th July 2023, the governor grossly violated the provisions of Article 10, 73 and 75 of the Constitution and sections 29 and 34 of the Leadership and Integrity Act 2012 by number A, overseeing misappropriation of funds raised for the victims of the horrendous Londiani Junction accident tragedy, in which over Kenya shillings 9 million of public raised funds were lost. Number B, reneging on his undertaking to implement the report of the County Assembly's ad hoc committee formed to probe the misappropriation of funds meant for the victims of the incident. There is evidence that the governor filed a suit and or supported a suit by those implicated in the report of the County Assembly's ad hoc committee in Kericho ELRC petition number E006 of 2023, that is Dr. Wesley Bor and 5 others versus the governor, the county government and others, and Kericho ELRC petition number E014 of 2023, Victor Tum and others versus the governor, Kericho County government and others. And C, being personally and directly complicit in the flawed award of direct tenders for service providers during the fundraiser and requiem mass of the victims of the accident. Number D, the governor has in this regard committed numerous and various acts in the course of his duties that are contrary to and in violation of the Constitution and laws of Kenya. These include Roman number 1, the authenticity of various payments made cannot be confirmed. The fact that the exact amount of money expended from the sum collected during the fundraiser points to impropriety and suggests a clear fraud on those whom the funds ought to have benefited. Roman number 2, a total of Kenya shillings 13,682,660 was collected at the fundraiser. A sum of Kenya shillings 423, that is Kenya shillings 423,000, was purportedly expended as pastors' facilitation, transport, refund, field preparation, lunches and refreshments, printing, publishing and radio announcements. Other payments that were approved from the fund were Kericho County Referral Hospital, Kenya shillings 2,037,000 524. Londiani Hospital, Kenya shillings 1,534,190. Supertix Limited, Kenya shillings 2,945,000. Supershine Limited, Kenya shillings 411,000. Rays Hotel, Kenya shillings 100,000. County Commissioners Fuel, Kenya shillings 300,000. etc. Roman number 3, that when Kenyans from all walks of life voluntarily made the contribution to aid the victims of the tragedy, it was never intended or anticipated that the funds would be misappropriated with blessings of the governor, who had higher calling to ensure the money is accounted for to the last coin, and whom the people bestowed their trust. Roman number 4, the governor has issued contradictory statements insofar as the use of the funds is concerned. The contradictory statements point to his being complicit in the manner. And Roman number 5, while the governor is on record indicating that the medical bills for all the victims would be waived and taken care of by the county government, it is not clear why the money which demands that a state officer shall, whether in private or in public, behave in a manner that avoids conflict of interest between personal interests and public or official interests, or compromises public interest in favor of personal interest. Number F, by overseeing the misappropriation of the funds aimed at assisting the victims of the accident, the governor violated Article 73(2), which demands from him selfless service based solely on public interest, demonstrated by honesty in execution of his duties, accountability to the public for decisions and actions, and discipline and commitment in service. Number G, by allowing himself to be a master of doublespeak in such a grave matter that shook the conscience of the nation, the governor violated Article 73(1)(a), Roman number 2, and Roman number 3 of the Constitution, which demand that he at all times demonstrate respect to the people and brings honor and dignity to the office he holds. Roman number H, by allowing himself and senior officials to close to him to benefit from the funds, the governor violated Article 76(2) of the 2B of the Constitution, which prohibits a state officer from accepting a benefit in circumstances that compromise the integrity of the state officer. And number I, by failing to ensure that decision-making in the executive office of the county governor are not influenced by corruption, nepotism, and other callous and improper motives, the governor has failed to exercise objectivity and impartiality, thus violating Article 73(2)(b) of the Constitution, Kenya 2010. Mr. Speaker, evidence of the governor's engagement, connivance, and simplicity in the acts of misappropriating and or abetting misappropriation of publicly raised funds is to be found in Roman number 1, the report on the investigation of Londiani accident victims fundraising held on July 4th, 2024, KCA exhibit number 13, I want to believe it's correct, and Roman number 2, affidavit filed by the governor in Kericho ELCR petition number E014 of 2023, KCA exhibit number 14, and the video clips numbered KCA V3 and KCA V4 and KCA V5. Mr. Speaker, most of these clips, in fact, it is unfortunate that the governor would refer to the committee, the other committee that was investigating this fund as a funeral committee. You know, Mr. Speaker, these are honorable members led by the Honorable Moses Rotich, MCA, representing the great people of Tendeno, and a number of members. The governor, however disgusted he was with the report, he ought not to have referred to members as a funeral committee that was formed by the assembly to investigate funeral activities surrounding the Londiani accident victims. And number two, Mr. Speaker, the governor, immediately this committee was formed, he called a press conference. And that is the point, there is a coined word at the moment called Mangetu Chita. He called a press conference, telling the public that I'll honor the report from the assembly. Immediately the report was tabled, he again went back and said, I cannot fire the CECs. And the recommendation from the members was anybody who, took the money meant for these victims ought not to have first, ought to be investigated and, sent packing. But the governor said his hands were, tied. He cannot act on this report to send anyone home. It's unfortunate because you can commit yourself now and the report is tabled, you disassociate yourself with the outcomes of the report. Mr. Speaker, charge number B, abuse of office. Roman number 1, illegal appointments, unlawful dismissals and transfers and usurpation of the constitutional and statutory functions of county public service. Number 1, Mr. Speaker, the governor has variously engaged in Roman number 1, gross misconduct, and Roman number 2, gross violations of Article 10, Article 73, Article 75, Article 232, Article 235, and Article 236 of the Constitution. Roman number 3, gross violation of Section 17 of the Public Officer Ethics Act, Section 55, Section 59, Section 59A, Section 60, Section 62, Section 63, Section 64, and Section 65 of the County Governments Act, Section 4 of the Public Appointments County Assemblies Approval Act 2017, and variously abused his office by number A, illegally appointing one Mrs. Alice Bett, now Judge of the High Court, as the county attorney when there was a substantive office holder, an act of which the Employment and Labor Relations Court, Honorable Lady Justice Wasilwa, affirmed was irregular and procedural and unlawful in Sang versus Governor, Kericho County, and 2 others. Petition E001 of 2023. In that case, the governor was found by the court to be in gross violation of Article 73 and 232 of the Constitution. His actions found to be illegal and unconstitutional and ordered to pay costs of Kenya shillings 2 million and costs personally. The governor has therefore been already adjudged to be in gross violation of the law, and all the assembly and the Senate are called upon to do is to remove him by impeachment. Mr. Speaker, it's unfortunate that the governor would rise one morning and advertise, the position of the county attorney when there is a substantive holder of the office who's been there from the first county government under Professor Paul Chepkwony. The governor was fined Kenya shillings 2 million, not from the county coffers, but he was, told to pay from it out of his own pocket. Mr. Speaker, this is even a judgment that has been rendered that the governor violated the law. And based on this judgment alone, the governor is adjudged. Judgment has been rendered. This governor, Mr. Speaker, ought not to be holding office. Number B, causing the advertisement of the position of doctors, nurses, early childhood education, that is ECD teachers, just to endear himself politically when he knew the county government did not have the capacity to hire. The applicants were subsequently not shortlisted, nor their late vacancies filled. Mr. Speaker, county government of Kericho, advertised for the position of in health department, the education department, that is the ECD, and even in agriculture, which were never filled. Mr. Speaker, the only reason that the governor gave was that, we do not have the money, and that the wage bill was going to shoot, above the required limit. Mr. Speaker, in the first place, why would you publish an advertisement when you know you do not have the money for that cause? And out of this, Mr. Speaker, this is irregular. And the governor can only wake up one morning and do what he knows is impossible, just because he wanted to appear as if he was winning the public to himself. Mr. Speaker, this alone amounts to abuse of office, and the governor ought not to be running the affairs of this county government. Mr. Speaker, number C, illegally deploying health staff via notice dated 22nd July 2024 without any justification, authority, and involvement of the county service board, thus creating crisis in health. Mr. Speaker, this was even shocking because one, Section 72 of the County Governments Act 2 states that the chief officer in that relevant department is the one who should occasion even the changes. But again, these changes ought to be in tandem with the HR mark issues and in consultation with the county public service. Mr. Speaker, the former county secretary who we impeached in this house was guided by the governor to do this, so that you find the director of medical services was taken to head a unit in county referral hospital, and a junior staff who works in Londiani is brought to come and act as a director. It is in total disregard of the law. Governor became the HR, governor became the public service board, and governor became even the overall HR mark, chaired by the county secretary. This alone, Mr. Speaker, is in violation of law, and this governor ought not to be running the management of this county. Mr. Speaker, number D, illegally appointing Mr. George Kipngeno Kirer as the Chief Officer for Finance and forwarding his name to the County Assembly for vetting and approval when there was a substantive office holder in the name Mrs. Jacqueline C. Langat, and the vacancy had not arisen. Mr. Speaker, it also caught us by surprise because one, Jacqueline was busy making payments, doing requisitions, and already the governor has advertised a position where somebody is there substantively. There is no notice to occasion even that vacancy. Mr. Speaker, if governor cannot even cannot produce this, he ought not to be the governor. Evidence of the governor's engagement, connivance, and complicity in the foregoing acts of illegal appointments, unlawful dismissal and transfers, and usurpation of the constitutional and statutory functions of the county organs is to be found in, number 1, judgment of the Employment and Labor Relations Court in Kericho in the case of Collins Sang versus Governor Kericho County and 2 others. Petition number E001 of 2023. Now this is even It's already uploaded. That is 2024 KEELCR, KCA exhibit number 14, Roman number 2, a copy of the advertisement for the vacancies. Now this one, even it involves the advertisements that we saw for the health, the ECD, that were never filled, and including this one for Mr. George Kericho, and now the CEO Finance. Under the abuse of office, Mr. Speaker, number 2, Roman number 2, subversion, discrediting, and impeding of the oversight role of the County Assembly. Number 1, Mr. Speaker, on 3rd September 2024, the governor engaged in 1, gross misconduct, and 2, grossly violated the provisions of Article 10, 73, 75, 174, and 185, 3 of the Constitution, and abused his office by writing to the Speaker, purporting to direct the Speaker on, inter alia, the timeline the Speaker should give the chief officers who are summoned by the Assembly for questioning in exercise of the Assembly's oversight mandate. Mr. Speaker, he's been writing a number of letters to you. First, he was asking this House to give 5 days notice. We complied. Even when we were doing the ad hoc committee on revenues. But you know, Mr. Speaker, shockingly, the governor again sent another letter that my team will not appear before us because they were engaged elsewhere, and that we can reschedule to a later date. This committee has timelines, Mr. Speaker. It's unfortunate because the governor does not understand that as a House, we have a mandate, and this mandate is bestowed to us by the people who send us to this House. It's unfortunate, Mr. Speaker, that the governor doesn't seem to understand the role of this House. The evidence of the governor's engagement, connivance, and complicity in the foregoing acts of subversion, discrediting, and impeding of the oversight role of the County Assembly is to be found in, number 1, Roman number 1, a letter by the governor dated 20th August 2024 addressed to the Speaker of the County Assembly, KCA exhibit number 16, and a letter from the Speaker to the governor dated 3rd September 2024, KCA exhibit number 17. Charge number C, Mr. Speaker, gross misconduct, Roman number 1, bullying, incitement, vilification, and indecent sexual conduct. Number 1, Mr. Speaker, on various occasions, the governor has repeatedly engaged in Roman number 1, gross misconduct, and Roman number 2, gross violation of the provisions of Article 10, Article 73, and Article 75 of the Constitution, and Sections 29 and 34 of the Leadership and Integrity Act by number A, publicly vilifying the residents of Kericho with divergent views. A case in point is a Mr. Marwa from Londiani, who, while attending an event in Londiani dated 4th March 2023, the governor publicly disparaged, demeaned, and undermined, and even threatened to use the service of the police officer assigned to him and handle it. Similarly, on 24th August 2023, the governor, while commissioning a renal unit and a bulk liquid oxygen plant at Kapkatet Sub-County Hospital, the governor openly vilified, slighted, and berated Honorable Amos Birir, who is a member of this House, MCA Kapkatet, who had not attended the event, describing him as mentally blind and stupid. Mr. Speaker, it's unfortunate. And you know, this governor is so cruel that, you know, first of all, for the case of Marwa, he invited him to come to the front. You know, the dais where he was seated. And he started now chiding him. He started talking so bad about Marwa, who is a resident of Londiani. Mr. Speaker, for the case of Honorable Amos Birir, In fact, the language the governor used is not of that person who was given an overwhelming mandate by the people of Kericho. Calling a member of Congress that is mentally blind and stupid. In Kikale, Mr. Speaker, he said, "Yonetinye MCA ne kumbafu, korat ago kumbafu." So, Mr. Speaker, you can imagine such words.
Order, honorable members, order, honorable Baringo. We will not admit what you are saying because it is not in your motion before us. So, not interpreted before. So, you are out of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand guided, though we have evidence because we have the clip with us here, Mr. Speaker, which we will produce when during the defense of this in another office. Number B, Mr. Speaker, further, on 15th of August 2023, while addressing the press to counter the findings of the ad hoc committee of the Assembly on Londiani accident, the governor spitefully referred to the members of the said ad hoc committee as the funeral committee. This one I had said before, Mr. Speaker. And number C, the governor has been operating with impunity as though he is above the law. On the second day of being sworn into office, the governor led a mob to invade a private land owned by one Mr. Josea Kiblangatkogo within Kericho town and tore down the fence. The governor has since designated the subject land as an illegal dump site operated by the county government without the consent of the registered proprietor, National Environment Management Authority, that is NEMA approval, gazettement by the county designating the person as a dump site, and in total disregard of a court order issued by the Environment and Land Court in Kericho. In ELC petition number E001 of 2022, that is Josea Kiblangatkogo versus the county government of Kericho. The governor has also obstructed the enforcement of the orders by the police administration. The actions are illegal, contemptuous to the authority and the dignity of the court and the rule of law, unethical and demeaning the office the governor holds. Further, as a result of the illegal actions of the governor, the county was condemned to pay the costs. Mr. Speaker, I only want to invite you into something funny. One, this is day 2, immediately after being sworn into office. I saw Governor Sakaja visited Pumwani Hospital. In the first 5 days, I saw Governor Susan Kihiga went to PGH Hospital, even went to the market to assess the situation. Our governor, number one, was already, undertaking an exercise that is construed it is criminal. Tearing down a fence belonging to an individual and even, disregarding the court order that has been obtained by the same individual, trying to repossess this land. To date, Mr. Speaker, the governor is using that same land as a dump site for the county government of Kericho. That is the private property belonging to one Mr. Josea Kiblangatkogo. Mr. Speaker, this governor started on the wrong footing. And this alone, this governor ought to have been impeached in less than 6 months into office. We really delayed as a house. Number D, Mr. Speaker, there are numerous complaints of the governors in a natural sexual behavior by female partners who accuse the governor of, and for instance, forcing them to unconsented anal sex, dangerous and unprotected sex, etc. The victim of the abuse seeks anonymity at this stage, and the mover of the motion shall, at the hearing of this motion, seek to have the victim heard in camera to protect her identity and dignity. Further, for the sake of concealing of her identity, the victim will be identified in a pseudonym. And this, Mr. Speaker, we have an affidavit, and the complainant is willing to avail herself in person. We also have, Mr. Speaker, governor's exchange with the victim. Even the victim trying to, ask the governor why he would go that far. Mr. Speaker, this one we can prove beyond reasonable doubt. And governor claims he doesn't have, evidence. Is something that's uncalled for. He should be ready to, answer to this. And this one, Mr. Speaker, is even in contravention of Sexual Offences Act 2016. Is it? Number E. The governor has persistently intimidated, molested, harassed county officers who do not sing to his tune, leaving officers jittery and creating an atmosphere of fear, uncertainty, and despondency in the county, and thus creating a toxic working environment. This violates the provision of sections 11 and section 13 of the Leadership and Integrity Act. In fact, Mr. Speaker, we have a case of a very serious human resource personnel by the name Jacqueline Leitich, who exited the service of this county to join the national government. She was frustrated. You can imagine, Mr. Speaker, an officer who was the acting director of human resource. Simply because the governor didn't like her, she was sent to become the sub-county administrator in Sointigo. She never reported. Or she reported and immediately sought transfer to the national government. Mr. Speaker, the actions by the governor and his men, led by one Dr. Bor, really, demoralized the officer. And the governor has done so many of this. In one of the interviews, Mr. Speaker, again, one officer who works in this county as the payroll manager told us, this committee, that at some point he was taking drugs meant for pressure, just to lower the pressure, because of the insults and the abuse by the county chief. It is uncalled for, very unfortunate, and this governor ought to be impeached, Mr. Speaker. Number F, the governor has persistently used divisive and unbecoming language which undermines the office he holds, contrary to Section 8 of the Leadership and Integrity Act 2012. Number G, the governor has violated Article 75(1) of the Constitution by drawing hefty allowances and a salary while failing to diligently report to work, to the huge detriment of the discharge of his mandate as a governor and the performance of his functions. Number H, the acts by the governor enumerated above have collectively brought dishonor and disrepute into the office of the governor in violation of Chapter 6 of the Constitution and the Leadership and Integrity Act 2012. Evidence of the governor's engagement and connivance and complicity in the preceding acts of incitement, vilification, and indecent sexual conduct is to be found in Roman number 1, affidavit of Josiah Kiblangat Kogo, sworn on 23rd September 2023 in support of the notice. Roman number 2, judgment of the ELC in ELC petition number E001 of 2022, Josiah Kiblangat Kogo versus County Government of Kericho, KCA exhibit number 18. And Roman number 3, video clips numbered KCAV. Thank you. Video clips numbered KCAV 6, KCAV 7, and KCAV 8. Speaker, I'm reminded that affidavit Roman number 1 of Joseph Blangatkogo sworn on 23rd September 2024, not 23. Thank you for the correction, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, to that end, I've come to the close of my motion, Mr. Speaker, and I only want to urge my members present, let us support this motion. This governor has acted with a lot of impunity. You know, Mr. Speaker, all these charges that we've raised here today can be proven beyond reasonable doubt. And that calls, you know, for this county to progress, for this county to prosper, for us to even get the much needed on-source revenue, for us to be able to discharge the mandate of this county, then this governor must go, Mr. Speaker. This governor, let us impeach him. We will get the order of this county back on track. With this, Mr. Speaker, I beg the members to support the motion. And I want to call on Honorable Albert Kipkoech, MCA representing Soliat, who is a ranking member of this House, to second the motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, the Honorable Kipkoech. The Honorable Kipkoech Albert, seconder of this motion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to second this motion and support it wholeheartedly. Mr. Speaker, the mover has really elaborated how the motion is, and allow me to invite you to our evidence, Mr. Speaker, that supports this motion. And I will start with the first one, which is, thank you, Mr. Speaker, to page 6 of the motion, whereby it says the county government advertised for the procurement of the integrated county revenue management system via an advertisement dated 14th December 2023. Mr. Speaker, I used to confirm that we are having as evidence that advertisement, which was reading County Government of Kericho, Department of Finance and Economic Planning, invitation to tender. And the details, Mr. Speaker, is that supply, delivery, installation, testing, and commissioning of an integrated county revenue management system. And Mr. Speaker, this advertisement was meant to be received on or before 28 December 2023 at 10 a.m. And that is the time that this tender was supposed to be opened. In that connection, Mr. Speaker, immediately on 27 December 2023, an appointment to the tender committee, appointment to the tender opening committee was formed. And the CEO then, who was forming this tender opening committee, was CPA Gilbert Kipkuribi. And he appointed the following members. The first one was CPA Catherine Kakea, Eric Korir, Leonard Langat, and Caroline Langat. And Mr. Speaker, the intention of this was to make sure that they preside over the opening of the tender. On 28, as the tender was seen, the tender was opened, and it was responsive, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on 4th January 2024, this year, appointment to the tender evaluation committee was formed. And the person who was forming that committee was Jacqueline Langat, who was the CEO of Finance then. And he also appointed 5 members to that committee, of which they did their work. And we have evaluation report that was submitted on 5th February 2024. Mr. Speaker, since then up to today, we don't have an automated system. What we have is a manual system, which started in November 2023. And the other day they were purporting that they have a system. After analyzing where they get this system, we noticed that they are calling it in-house system. A system that does not have controls, does not have checks, does not hold all the revenue streams. So, Mr. Speaker, in that connection, allow me also to invite members to the issues of licenses, Mr. Speaker, especially C, whereby we are told in the absence of automated payment system has adversely impacted on the revenue raising ability by the county through deliberate undercharging of business permits fees and miscategorization of zones. Mr. Speaker, we have zone A, B, and C, and allow me, Mr. Speaker, to confirm. Mr. Speaker, in our Kericho County Finance Bill 2023, page 26, they are listing the zones. And zone A is Kericho Town. Zone B, Mr. Speaker, is Bureti, Kipkelion West, Kipkelion East, Ainamoi, Belgood, and Sigawet Soin. And Mr. Speaker, to your surprise, in Kericho Town here, and allow me, Mr. Speaker, to use one permit to confirm the way they misplaced the zoning. Allow me to use permit by Kogul. Mr. Speaker, Kogul General Supplies Limited, which is here in Kericho Town, was given a permit from Pureti Sub-County, which is in Zone B. So, Mr. Speaker, that one confirms what is in the motion, page 6. Mr. Speaker, allow me also to take members to page 7. The present and former Chief Executive Committee member and Chief Officers have variously reported coercion by the governor. So, Mr. Speaker, I will take members to affidavit by Eric Koech. And I will only read a section of it. I will read number 5 of that affidavit, which says, Mr. Speaker, that the demanded sums varied in figures from time to time, but on average, the governor will require a personal allocation of shilling 500,000 on a weekly basis from his department then, which was Department of Roads. The payment, Mr. Speaker, was made on cash basis and occasionally through M-Pesa platforms. And here, Mr. Speaker, we are having a M-Pesa statement. And allow me to just mention a few.